So, when you hear the word Graceland, what pops into your head? Probably that iconic mansion, right? The white pillars, the music. But there's a way deeper story here. It's a story about purpose, family, and a legacy that goes so much further than just rock and roll. Okay, let's get into it. And right at the heart of it all is this amazing contradiction. It's this huge public monument to a global superstar, but at the same time, it's an intensely private place, just filled with personal stories and, yeah, some secrets. So the big question is, which one is it really? Well, that's what we're here to do. We're going to peel back the layers and try to understand the true story of this legendary home from its very surprising beginnings to its final, really poignant transformation. Okay, so to really understand Graceland, you've got to go back. I mean, way back. Before Elvis ever even saw the place. And you might not know this, the house wasn't built for him at all. Yeah, it was actually built way back in 1939 for a prominent Memphis doctor and his wife. And the name, Graceland, it was named after a relative, an aunt named Grace Toof. How about that? That iconic name existed long before the king. And this is where it gets really wild. The house was already a stage for music. The original owner's daughter was a musical prodigy, so they designed the place to host these big concerts on the lawn for up to 500 people. It's just incredible, right? Graceland was born for music. So how on earth did this public performance space turn into the super private fortress that Elvis so desperately needed? Well, his career had just gone supernova, and his life was chaos. See, before Graceland, he was in this regular little house on Audubon Drive. But once Heartbreak Hotel hit, everything changed. I mean, fans were everywhere, day and night, climbing fences, looking in windows. It was just totally out of control. He didn't just need a new house. He needed a sanctuary. So you see this incredible flip, right? A house built to welcome the public in becomes the one place Elvis needed to keep the public out. For him, Graceland wasn't just a bigger house. It was a statement, a symbol that he'd finally arrived for good. And so in March of 1957, Elvis, just 22 years old, by the way, plunks down $102,500 for the whole estate. And right then, the transformation of Graceland into his world began. Now, Elvis loved that classic, stately look of the outside, but the inside and the grounds, oh, that was his personal canvas. He made that place 100% him. First thing he did, put up those famous musical gates. Bam! April 57. He put in a pool, and let's just bust a myth right now. It was kidney-shaped, not guitar-shaped, okay? But maybe the most important addition was the meditation garden. This quiet little spot for him to get away from it all, and man, would that place become significant later on. So changing the property was one thing, but the life inside those walls, that was a whole different universe. Everything, and I mean everything, ran on Elvis time. I mean, just listen to this quote from his cook, Mary Jenkins, cooking pork chops at 3 or 4 in the morning because that's when he wanted dinner. The guy was completely nocturnal. He'd wake up in the late afternoon and the whole house would just spring to life after dark. And of course, you've got to talk about the jungle room. But get this, Elvis never called it that. To him, it was just his den. And that crazy green shag carpet? It wasn't just for looks. In '76, when RCA brought a mobile recording studio to the house, that carpet actually served as makeshift soundproofing. He recorded his last 2 albums right there, in his den. But then, in 1977, Elvis died. The music stopped, and Graceland, his safe haven, was suddenly facing its own end. It was on the brink of financial collapse. The estate was just bleeding money. We're talking $500,000 a year just to keep the lights on and the grass cut. That's in 1970s money. The accountants were all saying the same thing. Sell it. You have to sell Graceland. But Priscilla Presley? She just refused. No way. Instead of selling, she rolled the dice on this huge gamble. She created a new company, Elvis Presley Enterprises, and decided to do the unthinkable, open up their private home to the public. And you know what? It worked. Boy, did it work. That $500,000 investment they needed to get the tour started, they made it back in 1 single month. It wasn't just a good bet, it saved everything. It secured the entire Presley legacy. So now that the mansion was safe, its meaning started to shift. It became less about Elvis the rock and roll icon and more about Elvis the son, the father, the center of a whole family's story. And that meditation garden we talked about, it became the absolute heart of this new chapter. Look at this timeline. It's where 4 generations of the Presley family are now laid to rest. It tells this incredible story of love and also just profound loss, all in one quiet little garden.
Of course, a place this sacred is bound to stir up some myths, right? People point to the Aaron on his tombstone as some kind of clue. The reality? Elvis used both spellings his whole life. Was he an FBI informant? Nope. The files show no evidence of that. It's all been debunked. Graceland kind of grounds all the wild stories in a very real place.
And that's what Graceland is today, really. It's so much more than just a rock star's house. It's a living monument to a family's entire journey, holding all their joy and all their sorrow. You know, this quote from Lisa Marie really brings it all full circle. No matter what was going on in the world, Graceland was home. It was safe. From a public stage to a private sanctuary to a final permanent home. Its real purpose was always about family and feeling safe. And maybe this quote from Elvis himself is the real key to understanding it all. All I ever wanted was to be loved and to give love in return. It wasn't about the gold records or the sold-out shows. It was about connection. And that simple human need is what turned a mansion into a home and eventually that home into a legend that we're still talking about today.